How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. You see, quite recently I did a review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 4, The Next Generation, and that review already ran pretty long, but there is one topic from this movie that I wanted to talk about a little more, and I wanted to do a spoiler discussion for, and that's the secret agency in that movie. The character of Rothman and his men are implied to be some sort of Illuminati-esque agency. Probably not the actual Illuminati, but something like them. And you don't really get to know too much of who they are or what they're doing, and that makes them kind of a mystery. They say that they're responsible for global fear, and they want to bring more terror and fear into the world, and I think they're supposed to be like a metaphor for the movie studio that keeps wanting more sequels, you know? So they're the ones that said, hey, let's do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre again. And they say that the fear at the end of the movie, they say it's supposed to be a transcendent experience. So maybe they're more like a cult? I don't know. It'd be kind of like the Cult of Thorn, but maybe they know each other. I don't know. So what are they? They say that they're not the government. So they're not the government, but are they closer to a government-like thing? Are they closer to a cult-like thing? And they say they're responsible for the assassination of JFK, which is crazy, but also takes place in Texas. So did they really do that? And I guess that's what I kind of want to get to in this video, and I want that to be the video's big question is, what did Rothman's men actually do in this movie? So here's a good one to start out on. Did Rothman's people actually put a bomb in Darla's neck? Darla says if she does anything wrong, they have a bomb in her neck and her head's going to explode. This never happens in the movie. We don't actually see it. So I kind of have to wonder if it was real. You think if that was real, they would have done it, a Chekhov's gun type scenario, but it never happens. And a large part of me thinks that this was never real. This was something McConaughey said to get Darla to fall in line. Darla kind of can go off on her own tangent, and Matthew McConaughey is very controlling, so I think this was probably a lie. Also, McConaughey and Darla are dating. Presumably, this would mean she's not part of the family, and she's kind of, you know, dating into it. Granted, this is Chainsaw, and we can't say that for certain, but if she's not biologically part of the family, they may trust her less, and this was sort of used as a lie to get her in, so I'd have to say that there's probably no bomb in her neck. Another one, did Rothman's people give McConaughey his iconic leg brace? You know, it's this big robotic leg brace. I don't know if McConaughey could have built that on his own. Maybe he could have, I don't know, but it is a cool and iconic thing, and I think, you know, it is possible that the Rothman agency gave that to him in order to, well, A, be more mobile, but also be a cooler character, cooler, iconic, more marketable. It could be. However, personally, I would like it better if it wasn't them. Personally, in my own headcanon, I would like to say that Tinker from Part 3 built that. I mean, they're all family, even though they don't meet on screen. Tinker and Vilmer probably knew each other, and I would like it if it was Tinker that built McConaughey his leg brace. That would be pretty cool. So I'm going to say I don't think that was them either. But one thing, at the end of the movie, did they kill McConaughey? As you know, they're going down the street. Leatherface, McConaughey, and Zellweger, and a plane comes out of nowhere, and one of its tires whacks McConaughey on the head, and he presumably dies there. That's gotta be them, right? I mean, we see Rothman himself and the guy he was with earlier in the limousine later, but there's gotta be more than just those two people. Did they call in a plane? They said, Vilmer clearly failed, this whole thing isn't working, let's take him out. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense, because what are the odds a plane was in the air that was just randomly there, and it happened to see what was going on all the way down on the ground, not just see what's going on, but know who the good guys and bad guys are, and be that certain in itself that it took the maneuver of hitting one of them on the head, killing him, because they were that certain that they interpreted the situation from the air that well. And then why didn't they go after Leatherface later? I mean, he had the chainsaw, he was clearly more threatening. I say the Rothman agency killed McConaughey because he wasn't performing, but I bet you they saved Leatherface because he'll literally do whatever you say, you know. He responds to authority pretty well, so yeah, you don't need to kill Leatherface. He's cool and iconic, and we'll use him again in the next movie, right? So I think they definitely did kill I think they definitely did kill him. But the other one, did they bring Grandpa back? It was pretty clear by the end of part 3 that Grandpa died, but he's just up and walking about in this movie. So what happened there? Did they bring Grandpa back? Is this just another Grandpa, because a large family would have several Grandpas? Or did they bring him back on purpose? And if so, how? Did they use magic to bring him back to life? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them if they are a cult. And a lot of people have theorized, what if Grandpa is in some way magical because he's supposed to have lived a really long time, presumably from drinking blood. Maybe he was magical and maybe it's super easy to bring him back. Or if we want to go more the realistic route, did they say, okay, Grandpa was a scary thing from the first incident, we need a new Grandpa, and they simply found an old man that was willing to do it, and he was more just a character actor. I mean, that would explain why he just left when things got crazy. Grandpa in this film literally just walks away and is never seen from again. If he was just an actor and was like, it's too crazy, I'm just gonna leave, that would make sense as well. And also, the character W.E. Slaughter, a reference to the sign in part 1, but that would imply that the family's last name is now Slaughter instead of Sawyer, and I'm betting that this is another thing that Rothman's people did, is they said, hey, we want you to be scarier, we want to have more of a brand, and Sawyer is a cool last name, but not as cool as Slaughter, so I'm betting that they chose this, and they said, hey, use this as your last name, it's bigger, it's scarier, we're rebranding you to make you more marketable. I bet that's what's going on there. And the biggest one, I saved for the last, and also that's just how it fits logically, but Sally coming back at the end of this movie. Now, at the end of the movie, the main girl's in the hospital, Renee Zellweger, and she sees a patient getting pulled by on a bed, and the two share a glance. And that's the same actress that played Sally in the first movie. The nurse that's pushing her is actually the same actor that played Franklin in the first movie, but we know that's not the same character. A, he's walking and Franklin can't walk, but B, he died in the first movie, and C, we know 100% sure he's dead because we saw his skeleton in part 2. So that's not really him, that's just a cameo. But the way that this is like one of the last shots in the movie, they make a big deal, the first final girl looking at the last final girl. That's gotta really be Sally, that's gotta really be the same character, right? And I mean, in the credits, she's listed as anonymous, even though we know who she is, which just draws more attention to her. The thing is, though, at this point, Sally is supposed to be dead. If you look at the opening text crawls from parts 2 and parts 3, they say that Sally first went to a mental health institution and then shortly thereafter died. But what if she didn't? The opening text crawls don't know everything. I mean, in this movie, they say similar yet apparently related, so this opening text crawl doesn't really know about the events of 2 and 3, so I guess the text crawls don't know everything. what if people just think Sally died? What if she was whisked away by Rothman and his people? We know that he controls the town because at the end of the movie, he's like, do you want to go to the police or do you want to go to the hospital? He doesn't care because he controls the whole town apparently. And, you know, the guy at the hospital says this happens from time to time, yet no one's doing anything about it because they're in control. So I think Sally didn't die. Everybody just thought she did, and she was secretly taken away and stored in this hospital, presumably to get information out of her. You see, at this point, her and Leatherface are the only two people from part 1 that are still alive. And Leatherface, you can't exactly talk to him. They want to replicate the first movie, and they want a first-hand account. Grandpa died in part 3. Drayden died in part 2, presumably in the Texas Battleland collapse. And the hitchhiker died in part 1. And all of Sally's friends are also dead. So the only people that you have left from the first movie are Leatherface, and he's not going to give you a good first-hand account, and Sally. So if they wanted to recreate the first movie, they had to kidnap Sally, get all the information they can out of her, and then just hide her away in this hospital until they need her again. So I think that is a pretty big revelation. Sally is secretly still alive and being held captive, but of course they never made a part 5, so there's nothing that's going to come from this. But it is an interesting revelation, and I think that's the only way we can read this cameo. It's way too big a reveal. It comes at the end of the movie. They clearly show them locking eyes. It's literally one of the last things we see. It's after that, Leatherface dances a little more, and then we roll credits. So I'm thinking this has to be how we read this situation. Sally's still alive, secretly, but kidnapped. And I think that's an interesting situation that not a lot of people talk about. So I am kind of curious what you guys' what your thoughts are. Do you think it was just a cameo, or do you think Sally's really alive? And how big do you think this organization is? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Texas Chainsaw Massacre playlist. You can see my full review for Next Generation in there, as well as I talked about the new Netflix one as well. I think I've covered 6 out of the 9 movies so far, and I am working on covering them all, but I just kind of wanted to do this extra little video because I had a lot to say about this. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.